Jeff, the host of the Gridiron.
All right, welcome to the Gridiron, baby. If you can give this video a thumbs up or maybe share this video, that would be absolutely freaking phenomenal. If you subscribe to my channel, thank you. If not, please go down below, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell icon. That way next time I go live, if I put a video out, you'll be notified. And it's free of charge. What do you got to lose? It's totally free of charge. But if you are subscribed to my channel, thank you. If you want to help support my channel out, description box below, very top link takes you to my membership page. I got 3 different membership levels. Each one has their own little perks to them. So once again, if you want to help support my channel out, it would mean so much to me. And I thank you in advance. Thank you. And then finally, just underneath that, there's another link in that description box. Takes you to my Facebook group. It's called the New York Giants, the Gridiron. It's my Facebook group. We have over 9,800 members in the group. It is doing simply marvelous, might I add. Basically, if I'm alive and breathing, and if I got internet access, I put stuff in this group darn near 365. It's called the New York Giants, the Gridiron. It's my Facebook group. Please join it. You will not be dissatisfied. I promise. Well, you knew it. It was going to happen because we're talking a certain word that starts with I and the New York Giants, and it just goes hand in hand. Now, of course, it goes with all the football teams. But, it's one of those things you can do, at the start of every training camp. What's going to be the first catastrophic catastrophe of an injury? What's it going to be and who's it going to be? And everybody chucks in like 10, 20 bucks or so. You compile like hundreds of dollars, whatever. And the person who's closest, without going over, right, wins. Well, if you best, I guess with the Bryce Ford-Wheaton with the Achilles tear, you're a trillionaire, baby, because you won, right? So, we're 4 days in, and bam, already lost. That's unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. Obviously, you really feel. For these guys, it's horrible. But of course, with us Giant fans, injuries. Well, actually, when you open up the Webster's dictionary and you look at the word injury, it just says has a little NY now. It doesn't say injury, it just says NY. Yeah, it's just So unfortunately, now there was a chance, that he was going to be possibly, right? Because you listen to once again, Big Blue Kickoff Live. I try to listen to them, as much as possible because they're there every day. They're very knowledgeable. Lance Meadow, smart dude. He knows like all of the like the coaching trees and just a really smart dude. Paul Dottino has been with the Giants since 1983. I think he was like 19 years old. So he was there. He's been there since the first year of Bill Parcells. John Schmelk. He watches. I don't, but some people do. John Schmelk. He's one of them. He watches like 79 hours of football every day. So God bless you. So he's a wealth of talent. Matt Sytek. He's been there. I think he said 7 years. I think he said. Madeline Burke, she's been there for a while. You got also Howard Cross too. So you got a lot of talent, a lot of smart people there that obviously very, very familiar with the New York Giants operation. They work for the Giants. They're employed by the Giants, I do believe. And they're there every day. They watch you, whether the media is there or not, whether the people are there or not, whatever. They see every day. They see practices, training camp, all of that. They're there every day. So I try to listen to them, And they were talking about, it's like, the Giants they were even throwing out just like 5 wide receivers. I was like, yeah. Because what you're kind of looking at is like between wide receivers and tight ends, the number might be like 10, right? Under 53. So, it's going to be a shame. We might want to put like Greg Dulcich or somebody like that on the practice squad. You might get scoffed up pretty damn quick. we're looking at maybe 4 tight ends on the roster, right? And then they were talking about maybe like 5 wide receivers. That's it. But I mean, I'd have a hard time believing it's going to be 5. I could see a 6. But the thing is that because you're going to have obviously, some guy by the name of Malik Neighbors, maybe her, Wando Robinson, Darius Slayton, and Jalen Hyatt, right? So you got those 4. Now the thing was you're going to need, your returner. Now it doesn't have to be a wide receiver, but Amir Smith-Marset just happens to be a wide receiver. Now, if he's part of the 53, obviously he dresses up because he returns kickoffs. Don't know. Is he going to return punts? We'll have to wait and see. But he would be quite possibly the 5th wide receiver. Now if you're going to want somebody else in, you're looking at, quite possibly who's Bryce Ford-Wheaton, right? Because of what he contributes on special teams. Do I have him up? Yeah. Let me show you. Let's see. Share my screen here. Bryce Ford-Wheaton. Share screen. All right. Let's see. I get it. Oh, there we go. Now he contributed a lot last season with special teams, right? So almost 300 snaps on special teams. Now apparently I don't recall exactly what it was, but he missed a few games last year, right, in the middle of the season. I can't remember what it was, or else he would have had over 300 snaps on special teams. Now the one thing that the Giants did do a very good job of bringing in some of these free agents, okay, who maybe were not or super stellar, shall we say, as far as their position on offense or defense, but they are stellar special teams contributors. So, unfortunately, we lost Bryce Ford-Wheaton for the season, but we did bring in a plethora of other special teams contributors. Okay. Now we're going to be talking a little bit more in a little bit here about special teams and, the wide receivers and all that and everything. But you can see here, okay, that Bryce Ford-Wheaton was a big time contributor, on special teams, and unfortunately, and in 2023, he didn't. Let's see. It just pretty. So this was his 3rd season, special teams. I'm trying to think. Did he get any snaps at all? No, 2023 now. Nope. No snaps whatsoever. But so 2024, he was. Let's see. Did he even get? Let's see. Offense. Here we go. What did he do last year? Okay. Grand total 3 snaps. He had 1 snap in the final week of the season. Week 2, he had 1 snap. Actually, he played 2 of his 3 snaps on offense were against the Eagles, and 1 was against the Commanders in week 2 when we should have won that game. So, I mean, just 3 snaps on offense. But so this is his 3rd season. Okay. But, pretty much a, practice squad, But they did, they brought him in, put him on the practice squad, but they did give him a nice size signing bonus. So they did see some potential in there. Unfortunately, it hasn't really blossomed into the hopefully, maybe, possibly wide receiver that they were kind of, but, nice contributor. I mean, obviously, he was the one that ran back. And when against Seattle, the block field goal, right? He scooped that baby up and ran it back for a touchdown, right? That was him. But yeah, it is a shame. Things happen, and yeah, I mean, a lot of there's always be like little, I mean, obviously, like Hyatt went out, had some cramping, right? Then of course the other day. He had the dreaded friendly fire, right? Where you had Brian Burns and Wandale Robinson. I don't know exactly what happened, but ran into each other. They were both down for a little while. They both got up, and they're taking it a little slow, right? But things like that are going to wind up happening. But unfortunately, apparently, I guess you can't really blame this on turf. Can't blame this on MetLife turf. You can't blame. I mean, ain't no turf monster. This was grass, so it is what it is. But shame. As I said, I mean, obviously for us Giant fans, you really feel bad. But I mean, obviously for him, I mean, because he's because his season's over with, right? And you can you really season-ending Achilles tear at training camp, and the thing is the money, but I mean it's not about the money. It's dude wants to play some freaking football. You know what I mean? And he was last season. He did what he was supposed to do, and he didn't get much of an opportunity on offense, but he was in there as almost 300 snaps on special teams. So he was a big time contributor for the Giants. So I mean you feel bad for him. It's not the end of the world, right? It comes back. Hopefully, he can come back next season. The one nice thing that you can say, all right, is there's not much you can say about tearing your Achilles, but the one nice thing you can say, doing it this early. I mean, because your whole season, forget about it. Just all that crap you did, forget about it, right? But doing it this early gives you a good shot to come back next season fully ready to rock and roll. Now, obviously, Shane and Daboll, right, if they're still there, they know what they have with Bryce Ford-Wheaton. I'm sure they'll welcome him with open arms, give him a great big hug. What's up, Bo? Right? Give him a nice big hug, and certainly give him another shot. Absolutely. I mean, it's not. His career's not over. Life's not over, right? Sun's going to come out tomorrow. Unfortunately, he's going to come out and he'll be injured for the rest of the season. But if Shane and Daboll make it back next season, they're still alive, right? If not on the chopping block, they know what they have with him, and he knows. He obviously he's not guaranteed anything on a 53 main roster like next season, but he knows he's going to have a chance here. So, but you have to take yourself out of the equation here, because as mad and what are you doing? Getting hurt? What's wrong with you? You know what I mean? You got to take yourself out of the equation. Put yourself where he is. I mean, you don't want to. Obviously, everybody. Basically, everybody. It's showtime. Everybody is around the league. They're all brothers and all, and they're there to pour their hearts out and play a game they love and all that. You don't want to see anybody get injured. Obviously, in an ideal world, there are no injuries. You got the best team, best players on this team going up against the best players on that team. But it's not a perfect world. So, unfortunately. All right. The thought process had to be the same for Bryce Ford-Wheaton and so many other within the Giants on Sunday when testing confirmed that the depth receiver and special teams coverage standout suffered a season-ending torn Achilles. Bryce Ford-Wheaton, he was only 25. Okay, so he comes back next year, he's 26. Right? Crumbled to the ground without contact at the snap during one play in Sunday's practice. Without contact. It's like he got to his feet, took another step or two, spiked his helmet in frustration, went down again. As he knew it wasn't good. But the nice thing about it, man, you see everybody. There's got this one picture over here. You know what I mean? Russell Wilson's over there patting him on the back. Daboll's over there. I see Scatterboo in the background. I see Dart in the background. You know what I mean? Everybody's over there patting him and everything like that, showing him some love and everything. So just trying to console him as best as they can. Teammates quickly ran over, dropped to a knee, and huddled around the emotional Ford-Wheaton as he was loaded onto the medical cart and taken off the field. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't devastated, Ford-Wheaton wrote on X. I did everything by the book. Didn't take a single shortcut, left no stone unturned, invested everything into my body and my health this year. I don't even, it's unbelievable. I mean, no content, nothing. Why all of a sudden at that, got these guys in great shape, this, that, and the other thing and all, and just goes out there, no contact at the snap, and just boom, it's gone. What? The Achilles is gone. Huh? What? Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. Not sure why me, but I promise I'm going to going out on these. I'm not going out on these terms. It's a long road ahead for sure, but I know this is just part of God's plan for me, no matter how tough it may seem right now. Thank you all for your prayers. Please continue to keep me in them. I will be back. That's a promise. Good. All right. God gives his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers. It is the second time in 3 seasons that Ford-Wheaton suffered a season-ending injury during the preseason. He tore his ACL just before cut day as he undrafted rookie with a strong chance to make the team in 2023. That's why he didn't have any snaps in 2023. And he bounced back to playing 14 games last season. Right? Giants signed linebacker Chris Board during the offseason to fill a similar special teams role, and undrafted rookie receiver Dalen Cambry. Now, let's not forget about Cambry, right? Cambry, a long shot to make the roster when camp opened, is in the NFL right now because of his special teams excellence in college. Now, Cambry, okay, is obviously in college, was a wide receiver, but he had like hardly any catches. But special teams. So that opens things up a little bit now, right? Not necessarily, right, for a special teams wide receiver role, but I mean, anybody, it doesn't have, you have to be a wide receiver, right, to be on special teams, but that, they might have an extra roster spot right now for wide receivers. We'll have to, that's one that we're going to be talking about a specific undrafted rookie free agent, right, who's having a pretty good camp, although it's very early on so far. But now this might open things up a little bit, I said, because we still got the Fab Five, right? If you can't, Amir Smith-Marset, right? So now the Giants keep, 6th wide receiver and put like one, not to say also how many they try to stash on. You can't stash them on the practice squad because another team can come by and scoop them up, but they have to put them on their 53 now. So it'd be interesting to see because the Giants got, brought in a 5, right? And we got Little, Jordan Humphrey. We said we got quite a few guys. So it's going to be interesting to see, if they keep at least 6, who that 6th guy is going to be, right? And he could wind up being a special teams contributor. I said, Cambry made his money, shall we say, in college on special teams. So, although, he hasn't done too badly so far, training camp and all that. But once again, they haven't even put the pads on. Tomorrow, the pads come on, right? They've just been like shells and all that and everything, So, they'll be doing some popping tomorrow. Okay. Let's just hope that, it's the injuries just happens to every team. It's just not the Giants. Although sometimes it feels that way. But you really feel bad for Bryce Ford-Wheaton because this is the second time in 3 seasons. He hasn't even made it to the regular season. I'm not sure. I don't know if it was the same or it was a different Achilles. That I don't know. But it's like, the guy he goes through. I don't know his full background. I don't apologize, but high school, right? I guess I played football in high school. It's kind of tough just to walk on. Was it West Virginia? I think it's just a wide receiver and just start. So he played high school. Some kids play when they're like 8 years old, played in college, comes to the pros, and every other year he's tearing ACL. I mean, but as it's in that article, okay, 2023, right, a good chance maybe making a team. If not, they gave him a signing bonus, so they saw something in him. So as far as just letting him go, that wasn't going to happen. But, and he made it back the next season, right? So let's hope, pray, Bryce Ford-Wheaton makes it back again next season. So as I said, if Shane and Daboll are around, they're certainly going to welcome him with open arms. Does not obviously guarantee him a roster spot, but I'm sure they'll give him a chance. Now, all right, where are we at here? Okay, so obviously the one nice thing is that, tomorrow they got the pads going on for the first time, so there will be some popping going on. And one of the things is, of course, is you always got, it's very difficult. Like, everybody sees, like Abdul Carter. I mean, man, he's putting on some moves, man. I'll tell you what. But you got to realize too that there's nothing there that the offensive lineman can grab a hold of. Like they're trying to get hold of the nameplate, right? Right, the plate, right, the chest plate. To try to maybe if you can, good luck, right, get a hold of him. But I mean, he's putting on some. He made, I think it was a Luminor. He spun around him. He was going to get a sack today. I guess it was. They were off Saturday, so it must have been Friday. He pushed John Michael Schmitz to the ground. John Michael Schmitz wound up deeper in the pocket than the quarterback was. I don't remember who the quarterback was. Sorry, buddy. I gotta move my legs. Sorry, pal. I moved my legs. Sorry, buddy. My dog lays at my feet. Sorry, buddy. I'm sorry, pal. I gotta move my legs every now and then. But I forgot who the quarterback was. But I'll tell you what, man, he sent John Michael. I mean, it wasn't like I couldn't talk. It was just like he sent him flying. We're going to talk a little bit more about JMS a little farther down in our program here. It's not very good, but I mean, Abdul, he really looks bad. I mean, everybody talks about him. Carl Banks was also talking about Abdul Carter. He's not the second coming of anybody. People are like, whoa. It's the second coming of, because he's on the Giant, Lawrence Taylor, or people. Some people are like, well, he came from Penn State. He's the second coming of maybe Micah Parsons, huh? But Carl Banks just tried to remind you that he's the first coming of Abdul Carter, right? But I mean, it's the offensive line. They have nothing to grab a hold of, right? And so, but one of the things that they were talking about on Big Blue Kickoff Live was also the competition, the offensive line versus the defensive line. Because they're gonna have, there'll be some competition going on because you got Andrew Thomas, right? He's going to be the left tackle, but he's on PUP, right? So we're going to see who's going to take his spot. You got a open competition at right guard, right? That's going to be fun. And then I can't say they're going to give the right tackle spot to Illuminor, right? Because you got Marcus Bowe. Let's see what he can do, right? I'll tell you what, if we got to slide Bowe, because you hear, right, that possibly Bowe might have to be a guard, possibly at the next level, meaning the NFL. If we got to slide him in, we got a plethora of guards. It'd be nice to see if maybe he can stay outside at tackle, right? So I mean, you don't want to say Illuminor is given that position either. So we got some position battles up for grabs. And of course, as I said, we're going to be talking about John Michael Schmitz here too. It's year 3, right? you can have the smarts, you can have the leadership qualities, this, that, blah, blah, blah. You can have everything. But if you can't perform on the field, once again, second round, you draft a center in the second round, should be pretty good. Center in the second, of course, as long as you hit on your pick, of course. But if you draft a center in the second round, you pick them up, wind them up, and say, "We'll see you in 10 years, brother." Right? That's the center position. There's the ball. We'll see you in 10 years. Right? Go get him, Tiger. But that's why it's so important to hit on these picks, especially those early ones. Because what are we going to be doing? If JMS looking for another center. Anyway, so we had day 3, Friday. So there was this. That was the one that was the I think there was the Wan'Dale Robinson, Brian Burns scare when they ran into each other. They held Hyatt out because he was cramping, apparently. So of course Friday was a hot freaking day. I couldn't even fathom. They weren't even hitting with full pads on or anything like that. It was horrible outside. I was outside, and I was just trimming some trees and all that and everything. I was out there for like half an hour. I'm dying. I got to get in. I couldn't imagine running around on the field. At least they do it in the morning. When I was out there trimming the trees and all that, it was in the afternoon, high noon, shall we say. But, it was hot on Friday. All right. They got Brian Daboll has been eager to have the players work in pads, but according to CBA guidelines, teams cannot do so until they have been acclimated to camp for 5 days. So you have to 5 days. It was funny, once again. Well, one of the reasons why I stopped football, I wasn't interested in it, or not. It just became less interested in me. I'm like, if I gave it my absolute all, which you always should, I certainly would have been better, without question. It's just after a while, it's just, I don't know. I just, it wasn't quite as fun because I'm like, dude, you're not really that good. As I said, if I gave it my, I certainly would have been better. But, I was not that good. So I lost interest in it. So I'm not trying to say, hey, back in the day, I was the man. No. But the one thing was, I moved to Washington Township, South Jersey here, 1977. So in 1978 at Washington Township High School, I was a freshman, right? And I don't think we did a freshman year, but when I became a sophomore, I played sophomore my junior. I didn't play my senior year, but sophomore and junior, the first day, and for the first 2 weeks. I hear this stuff about the CBA and you can't do this and you can't do that, and I'm like, why? These guys make $75 trillion a year. They're in tip-top shape, blah, 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 blah. And they can't start hitting until they've been acclimated to what? You can't hit what? High school. When I was a sophomore. So that would have been 1979, I guess it was, the 79-80 school season. So 1979, August, right? So we didn't, so we're not starting in July, but in August, we did 3 days for 2 weeks. It was the 2 weeks before school started. Was it Labor Day? What is it? Labor Day? Memorial? Yeah, Labor Day weekend was you're if you made it alive to Labor Day, you made the team. Right? There was no cuts. You cut yourself, right? But for 2 weeks, we had 3. I think we had like maybe Sundays were off. But other than that, I mean, for like 2 weeks, like 13 out of those 14 days, whatever it was, we had 3 days. I had to get up at like 6 o'clock in the morning. I rode my bike to school so I could be there so I left at 7:50, whatever it was. So I get to school by 8 o'clock, park my bike. 8 o'clock, I guess like 9 o'clock, we were on the field from like 9 to like 11:30. And we went inside for maybe about an hour. You had lunch. You went outside around 12:30. So from like 12:30 to like 3, we had practice. Got on my bike, rode home on my bike, took a shower, took a nap, ate, and we had to be back by like 6 o'clock. Because it's in August. It still stays light out to like 8:30. So I rode my bike back to the school, and by 6 o'clock, we had like another 2.5 hour practice, full pads, beating the crap out of each other for 2 weeks. And basically, if you some guys would just, it's like, this, I ain't doing this. You kidding me? You know what I mean? So a lot of guys, we might start out with like 80 guys, 90 guys. Well, 20 or 30 of them would just drop by the wayside, you know what I mean? Just not come back. But I mean, I'm like, now to be fair, that was in August. Okay. These guys, this is July. So got to give them, right? Got to give them some credit, right? It's not like they would, I'm not saying I was in July, we were, practicing all, but we started off just hitting 3 practices a day for 2 weeks. I mean, these guys, they're out there for like 2, even when they do have contact, it's for like 2 hours. We literally, it was, I guess, 6, 7 hours, 8 hours of practice a day for 2 weeks. Holy cow. Man, they were tough. Boy, they were tough. I tell you what, when the season was over, I was in pretty good shape. I was in really good shape. I still stunk as a football player, but I was in pretty good shape. But the 5-day period will end this weekend with the Giants donning the pads for the first time starting Monday. Cool. The current CBA limits the number of padded practices between the veteran reporting date and the final day of preseason training camp to 16. Most teams tend to take full advantage of the allotment. Still, in some cases, teams might scale back due to injuries or, in the head coach's opinion, if the team is already getting quality work and the full allotment of pads isn't necessary. Daboll hasn't said what his plans are, as he's likely to go take each day as it comes. But given how ill-prepared the Giants looked last year to start the season, it probably wouldn't hurt for players to take full advantage of their padded practices as much as possible. So on Friday, Jalen Hyatt was held out of practice. He had a hamstring strain last month. He was held out of Friday's practice due to some tightness and cramping he experienced on Thursday. Let's hope it was just maybe cramping, but I mean, got to look like this. Everybody, you got to take advantage of what you can get, right? I mean, if Hyatt keeps continuing to have problems with hamstring or cramping or whatever, and Bryce Ford-Wheaton season's over, that opens the door to maybe 1 or 2 of those wide receiver spots. I'll have to wait and see. And of course, Friday, we're talking about dealing with the heat, with temperatures soaring well into the 90s. And let's forget about this, too. When they take the temperature and they say it's 90, that's in the shade. That's not in the sun. So if it's 95 in the shade, Lord knows what it is in the sun. And then you throw like the heat index in there, the humidity and all that stuff. I mean, it's brutal. Head coach Brian Daboll ensured that players received an extra 3-minute water break about midway through practice to catch their breath and rehydrate, which is extremely important. Speaking of the heat, so far there have been no training camp skirmishes to speak of. Yet. Which has been impressive. Of course, let's see if that discipline continues once the pads go on and there's another hot kind of day. So, of course, then they talk about the brief injury scare. I mean, the one thing is you talk about also the injury scare, which was not cool, but you're talking here was that Brian Burns, obviously he was the one with the injury scare, him and Wandale Robinson, but they said like Burnsy's just like that running down the field, keeping up with the wide receiver. I mean, just crazy. I know Burnsy. I think he's the one that said he always likes going forward. So, I mean, that's what he likes to do. That's what he wants to do and all. But I guess doesn't mind every now and then dropping into coverage. But I mean, this is something that Bowens, he's got his work cut out for him. Sometimes, let us pray. Hopefully, injuries don't come into account here, right? But if we have the full allotment, if we're allowed to have the full allotment of our guys, right? I mean, with Sexy and Kayvon and Burnsy and Golston and Dual Carter, if we're allowed to make it to the season with all those guys, right? Bones got his work cut out for him. How to get as many of those guys on the field at the same time. And and of course, what you can't do, you can't put Burns over here, Kayvon over here, Dexter in the middle, and somebody else here, and just same play, same guys. Burnsy's rushing, Kayvon's rushing, Dexter, this guy's right. You can't. You got to mix it up, right? Burnsy can be over here. That's cool, but now Burns got to drop in coverage. So every now, you just can't walk up the line of scrimmage. Okay, Burns is coming from over here. Okay, they might do a twist or something or whatever. But these four guys are on the line of scrimmage. They're coming at me. Got it. Okay, write it down. Okay, we got it. Okay, can't do that. Right. So Bowens, he's got to work cut out for him. So it's not only so much that it's getting the guys on the field, getting them doing different things, but also getting them to do different things efficiently. Right? Brian, did you just cover this guy? Yeah, well, what if he can't do that? So he's got to put guys in position to be successful, right? And we want these guys on the field. It can't be like, well, we can't put Abdul Carter on the field too much because we got Kayvon, we got Burns, so we got to keep Carter on the sideline about half the game. No, you better get him on the, of course. Micah McFadden's, I'm sure his snap count is going to take a hit, but you want him on the field too, right? So, and of course, then you got guys that are going to be on the field. I mean, Karake, as long as he can stay healthy, he's going to be on the field. For luck, maybe every snap. So, but it was a hold your breath moment during Friday's practice. One of the team drills when outside linebacker Brian Burns collided down the field with receiver Wan'Dale Robinson. Both were able to get up and walk off, but both went with trainers to be checked out. So there was an Andrew Thomas sighting on Friday. For the first time since the end of last season, Giants left tackle Andrew Thomas was spotted on the field. Ooh. Thomas, who is currently on the PUP list, went through the stretching period, a sight that sparked hope that he might be activated sooner rather than later. Giants are taking every ounce of caution with their left tackle to ensure his surgically repaired foot is ready to go by week 1, and that likely means holding Thomas out of the first couple of weeks of training camp and all preseason games. And then the offensive line. So it's still rather early in training camp as teams aren't yet in full pads. However, a very early concern. We're going to talk about this a little bit earlier, but also, the Carter really looking good. He's making some offensive linemen look pretty bad. But once again, the pads are not on, and the offensive line, there ain't nothing really for them to grab a hold of. So it's tough. It's tough for the offensive line, but things are going to change starting tomorrow. Right. All right. And we got, let's see here. And of course, then they talk about Evan Neal, right? Seeing him on the field as well, too. And, and the thing was about with Friday's practice, what I understand, there was obviously, there was the good and the bad. There was the good offense, and there was some good plays on defense as well, though. You don't want it all one-sided. You don't want it where the offense just keeps scoring point after point after point. It's like, where's the defense at? You don't want defense making all these interceptions, and you're like, where's our offense at? You know what I mean? So you gotta have that happy medium. But practice today, All right. This is from where we got this from Giants Wire. I got 6 takeaways from day 4. Wilson is opening up the offense. Now, I'll tell you what, you're seeing a lot of nice, a lot of nice deep balls from Wilson. Now, I'm sorry for bringing his name up, but Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes, right? I mean, used to have that nice little touch, right? I mean, just haven't had that, right? So Russell Wilson, his forte, right? His deep ball. He had a nice 1-2 Slate, and Slate made a nice catch of a deep ball. We're going there down the left sideline. Slate made a nice catch, and he wound up going out of bounds. So, Russell Wilson, he might lose a little speed, he might lose a little this or a little that or whatever, but the touch on the ball, he's got that. He's got that. So that's one thing you have to make sure. You got to call. You just can't. We're just going to drop back and throw 30 deep balls. You can't do that. You got to take your shots. But look for some deep balls, and if the offensive line can hold up, Russell Wilson certainly the man that delivers some deep balls. So that it is so important to be able to get. I can't remember if it's a 15 or 20-yard play. I mean, if you get like a 15 or 20-yard play on a drive, exponentially your chances of scoring. I can't remember if it was just scoring a field goal or a touchdown or just a touchdown, but they go up immensely. If you got like a 15 or 20-yard play, it's so tough. All right, we're gonna pick up 4 yards on a run. Then we're gonna hit a little screen pass. We'll get 3 yards, and then we're gonna run a little sweep or something. We'll pick up another 3 yards, 10 yards first down. Then what we're gonna do? We're gonna drop back. We're gonna hit somebody's gonna go out and run. We get about 7 yards on an out pad. We'll hit him there. Then we'll run one up the middle for 2 yards, and our quarterback sneak it for another yard, 10 yards, first down. We're going to do that all week. No, you're not. What I mean? So it's so important to get those big plays in there. And, what better to get a nice big play than right? Now we got the animals to do that. We got Hyatt, who's got speed. We got Slayton, who's got speed, and you got the dog. You got Mr. Neighbors. So it says Wilson is opening up the offense. The Giants have been one of the NFL's least potent offenses the past 2 seasons. They signed veteran, obviously, Russell Wilson, the NFL's most proficient deep thrower last year, to get their passing game back on track. It looks as if he's doing that after just 1 week. Wilson is going up top to all of his receivers these days, and his moon ball has never looked better. I mean, that's not that I would know, right? Because but it's kind of like, I guess, like riding a bike. You pop back on. I mean, right? You just warm the arm up, and you get that deep ball going, right? That's not something he's gonna lose overnight, right? If he could throw a deep ball last year, he can certainly throw another deep ball good this year. The thing is, we got to be able to protect the guy, right? They say here he looks 25 again. Not to make this all about Russell Wilson, but he appears to be just what this sagging Giants offense needs. Not only is he re-energizing the passing game, but the 36-year-old is making plays with his legs too. Cool. Holland the Pirate. That's what you want to hear. That's what we got the guy for. Cool. Wilson didn't have his way with the Giants secondary all day. They got their shots in as well. On this one play, slot cornerback Drew Phillips deflects a Wilson pass into the hands of safety Javon Holland, who returns it for a touchdown. The Giants' goal on defense this year is to focus on ball hawking. So far, so good. Yeah, I mean, that they got that pirate chest, right? Which Bowen implemented or he brought this chest in. So it'll be interesting to see as the season, I guess, goes along. Every time the Giants either recover a fumble or pick a pass off or whatever, I think the ball is going to go in that chest. I don't know how many balls the chest can hold, but they're supposed to have a pirate chest on the sideline. Scatterbo is gaining in popularity. It's going to be interesting because Tyrone Tracy is a very good athlete, and you saw last year he can take it to the house. Now, I'm not saying he's like one of those just give him a hole and he's gone, but he took a couple long distance, right, and not only that, but he was a wide receiver, so he can catch the ball too. But so we have two. I'm not saying they're Saquon Barkley. I'm not saying they're Jim Brown. Right. But two very good athletic running backs. It's going to be very, very interesting to see. It could be a nice little battle going on there for. I presume, as long as everybody's healthy, of course, that week one rolls around, that Tracy will be the man in the backfield, at least, the first series of downs, right? But, it'd be interesting to see, once again, if everybody can stay healthy, how they use the running backs going forward. Because, let's not forget, right? We had Motor Singletary started the season last year. And then, was it week 5, I think it was? Tyrone Tracy Jr. was there, and he never looked back. It could be interesting because he's gaining some traction. He's a tough mofo. He's going to bring an attitude to the Giants, and you want the attitude on the field, not on the sideline. So that's going to be interesting, very interesting, especially when like the preseason. And I said I really expect Tracy week 1, line it up, first play of the game and all that, whatever. First play that the Giants have, Wilson's under center, Tracy's right behind him. Fully anticipate that, but be interesting to see as the season goes along, who winds up being running back number 1. But we have, once again, I'm not saying these guys, they're just as good as Saquon. I'm not saying they're Barry Sanders, nothing like that. But we have two very good running backs, but they both can catch the ball, both good with their hands. All right. Looking for a player to root for this season? Look no further than rookie running back Cam Scatterbo. He is a high-energy player who's already making his mark with the Giants as both a rusher and a receiver. Yeah, he's taken to the fans. There was one play that I saw. He was given the ball. Now, I don't know where we're supposed to be run, but he was given the ball. He ran up close, maybe kind of heading toward the line of scrimmage, and then he just broke it to the left. Got to the outside, got at least 10 yards down the field, and then they pushed him out of. There's no contact, or they don't. So he's not like lowering his shoulder into one of our cornerbacks or safeties or something like that. So he just kind of ran out of bounds, but he got like probably damn near 10 yards down the field before anybody touched him. And quite possibly, if this was a regular season game, he may not have ran out of bounds. He might have ran into somebody. So, Abdul Carter is a menace. First full padded practice isn't until Monday, so we won't know exactly how good Abdul Carter is. Now, one of the things that they were talking about is, obviously right now, of course, he looks good, because he goes in there and he does his spins and whatever, all that stuff and everything. It's really, you can't grab a hold of him, right? It's tough. There's nothing, but it'd be interesting to see, like, with the running game, right? If he's got to, like, fill a hole, okay? And he's got a guard, say he's off ball, right? Middle linebacker, whatever you want to call him, right? And as a guard going to the second level to take him on, right? If the guard can latch a hold of him, can he break free? Can he make the tackle? It's going to be interesting to see, right? Because there's really nothing to grab a hold of now. So, but he's going to be fun. He's going to be fun. And of course, one guy can make everybody else a lot better, right? So far, he's been blowing by every. Oh man! So far, he's been blown by everyone. If he continues to do that, when the hitting starts, though, the Giants have a monster in their midst. So, I mean, this is one of those things. That, I mean, it was like, when the Giants, what the heck were they? I forgot what they were in '80. But I mean, they were so horrible that they got to pick second in 1981, and of course they got Lawrence Taylor, right? I mean, we only won 6 games, right, in 2023. Well, as our reward, now you have to hit on it. It's just not, we got the 6th pick, okay. Well, we're a better team. No, you got to hit on the mofo, right? Well, as our reward, we didn't hit on it. That freaking monster's that's a straight up grand slam, Malik. We got the dog, right? I don't even know what that freaking guy's going to want. He's going to earn it. He's going to, whatever he gets paid, he's going to earn it. But I couldn't imagine. Easily 40. Easily. Well, obviously we're talking years down the road, but, we had a painful season in 2023, but our reward was Malik Neighbors. We got ourselves a dog. Now, if we can ever get another dog on the other side, we're on to something. But then last season, oh my God. I mean, you go from 2-3 to 3-14, right? You lose, 1 out of 12 games. You win 1 out of the final 12 games. Are you kidding me? We had to go through, But as our reward, we got Abdul Carter, right? So, let's not forget, we got Sexy Dexy, we got Brian Burns, we got K-Bomb, we got Carter. So we have been rewarded, right? All right, where are we at here? Dart's best day. We're going to talk about Dart in a little bit here. Jackson Dart had a nice touch to Bo Collins. We're going to talk about Bo Collins in a little bit here too. He's had a couple of nice throws today like this. Looks a lot more comfortable today. All right. It was the same thing. It was pretty much, let's say, offensive wise, defensive wise, there was a little bit of good and bad with everything, But as I said, that's what you want. You don't want it all offense. You don't want it all good for the defense, right? But one thing has been, one of the most embarrassing things that I saw, right? He's at the center of attention, and I don't mean center meaning his football position. I mean he's he was the one so far that really embarrassing. When Abdul Carter just threw him to the ground. It wasn't like he pushed and Schmidt just fell backwards or fell off to the side. I mean, he was like pretty much, I can remember, like airborne, and he went back like, I don't know. I mean, it's just embarrassing, really embarrassing. Enough that not to be fair to John Michael Schmidt, there's nothing to grab a hold of or anything like that, so it's not easy. But this is one thing that we got to worry a little bit about, and this is one of those things. You get those early picks and you hit on them. It's like great, but like I said, you take a center in the second round. We got our center for the next 10 years. We should be good to go. This is his 3rd year. So usually what they say is the 3rd year is about what they're going to be. That's about what, so we'll have to wait and see. Now, obviously his leadership ability and his intelligence and all that's there, right? But I mean, I can have leadership. I go in there and be a great leader to the team. I can, if I knew their schemes, I could be smart and all that stuff. Doesn't mean I can play. You know what I mean? So he's got his work cut out for him, right? So we'll have to wait and see. It'd be a shame if we have to go out there and try to bring in another center. But so far he's been A little embarrassing. Giants veteran couldn't be having a worse training camp, and it's time to panic. This is from G-Men HQ. Matt Sidney wrote this here. Things are going from bad to worse for JMS. Let's hope Gabriel can help him out a little bit. But the Giants were hoping year 3 would be the breakout for John Michael Schmitz. They may want to start preparing for year 4 or a different center altogether. The early reports out of camp aren't just disappointing. They're exactly what you'd expect from a player who hasn't figured it out in 2 years. Pads aren't even on yet, and while we're all tired of overreacting to July reps, Schmitz already looks like he's losing ground fast. It's starting to feel less like something and more like confirmation. Schmitz was already skating on thin ice after 2 underwhelming seasons, not even a week into camp, and it looks like he's testing just how thin it can get. John Michael Schmitz is completely unraveling at the worst possible time. Oof. Now, this is what I saw. This is one of the videos I saw. Let's start with what Abdul Carter did to him. The rookie linebacker tossed Schmitz aside on Thursday in what can only be described as not safe for work. Carter lined up on the inside and just bull rushed JMS onto a different field, literally. I mean, he went flying. I mean, it was funny, but not funny when it's your starting center. And it was just, if it was me out there, it would really be funny. But when it's your starting center, he threw him out of the frame so easily and clearly shook his confidence moving forward. The very next day, Schmitz reportedly had 3 errant snaps. So he's had some snap issues as well. So I'm not sure if one maybe underwhelming as far as the blocking has affected his snaps, because one thing he was supposed to do, he has that snap that he has that he holds like the top of the ball, and it usually supposed to be just as smooth as silk going back. Well, apparently he had a couple bad snaps though, and they brought that up to Daboll. Daboll didn't really chastise him or anything like that when I think he was talking to the media, but he said, yeah, we can't have bad snaps. So don't know. Let's see. So we had the 3 errant snaps, which are 3 too many for a guy in his 3rd year, especially one who's seemingly regressing with each passing season. Here's what Ryan Dunleavy of the New York Post reported. So Ryan Dunleavy wrote, John Michael Schmitz had about 3 errant snaps today. One day after Abdul Carter put him in a blender. Pads aren't on yet. Too early for any any type of alarm, shall we say. But as I said before camp started, no job should be handed out on draft status this year. That they do have Greg Van Roten has. Show more. Oh, here we go here we go here. Greg Van Roten does have center experience, so you got to keep that in mind. So that's going to be something interesting to keep an eye on if GVR starts getting some first team snaps at center, because quite possibly GVR may not get a starting role on the front 5, possibly. But I'm sure he's going to be one of the guys, one of the extras that the Giants do keep. But he does have center experience. So it's hard to argue JMS deserves the benefit of the doubt. Schmidt's camp has been brutal, but the leash should be short anyway. He's been a bottom-tier center since the day he got his first start. He's given up 11 sacks and 58 pressures in his first 2 years with inconsistent play in both the run and the passing game. There's been minor improvement, but it's still not enough. And that's the problem. If this is the getting better version of John Michael Schmitz, what's this thing supposed to be? It's hard to get worse, so improving should be a given. So with Schmidt slipping, the door's pretty much wide open for someone else to step in at center and might already be on the roster. Greg Van Roten isn't flashy, but he's experienced, reliable, and already the most durable lineman the G-men have. Because let's not forget, he played every freaking snap last season for the Giants on offense. He's in the camp battle with Evan Neal. But if Neal locks down the job, GVR become the top challenger to Schmitz at center. If Neal doesn't win it, Van Roten likely sticks to guard, but the point remains the veteran has positional flexibility while Schmitz is mounting issues. And also you got Schlappen. I believe he has center capability as well, too. So that's going to be something very interesting to keep an eye on. Just because we have, John Michael Schmitz obviously on the roster certainly does not mean he will be necessarily the starting center week 1. They'll have to keep an eye on it. Big Blue needed Schmitz to take a leap this year. Instead, it feels like more of the same, only there's a real fallback option. If Van Roten puts together a solid camp and Schmitz keeps not being able to snap the ball, his job won't be as much longer. And if these early camp signs hold, the Giants might need to start exploring other options fast. So it's going to be, something to keep an eye on. But I mean, that center snap, I mean, once again, I can't say because, I've never been a professional athlete or nothing, but sometimes like you get, who was it? I can't remember who it was. There was, certain ball players but there was a catcher. I like the Mets. Catcher for the Mets. I can't remember. John Stearns. There was somebody. Might have been John Stearns. He had a big collision at home plate. Can't remember what year it was, but then he developed where he couldn't throw the ball back to the pitcher. He had a hard time. He would get the ball, he'd catch the ball, and he would like pump it a couple times, then he could throw it back to the pitcher. Sometimes you get all of a sudden one thing goes wrong. Like what maybe what happened with John Michael Schmitz, and all of a sudden something so simple, like just flicking the ball back, something you've done thousands of times, right? With the greatest of ease. You don't even think about it. It's like driving a car or whatever, right? You don't even think about it. You just do it. Automatic. You just do it. Same thing with the catcher. Catches it, just flips it back to the pitcher. Catches it, just flips it back to the pitcher. All of a sudden you got to start thinking about it, whatever, you see some of these guys. One of the things, obviously one of the big problems, right, is that if you got somebody on first base, right, you catch the ball and you gotta pump it 2 or 3 times before you throw it back to the pitcher because you're worried about where you're going to throw the ball at you. And the guy at first just takes second base. He could probably walk down to second base if he wanted to, right? So that's something to keep an eye on, because I said that center snap should be real easy. But that was something that Daboll, he didn't necessarily give me like a free pass when he was. So I can't remember who asked him the question, but Daboll did say, "Yeah, we can't be having bad snaps." And something like that, a drive killer. You get a bad snap it over Wilson's head or on the side of him or something like that. You wind up losing like 10 yards or something on one play. Kills a drive. So, fortunately, John Michael Schmitz is somebody we have to keep an eye on. Let's hope he gets out of this funk. Hopefully everything's okay and all of that. But that's why it's so important to hit on those draft picks, especially those. I'm not saying you got to hit on a 7th round pick, but once again, you draft the center in the 2nd round. I'm not saying he's got to be a Hall of Famer or nothing, but you draft the center in the 2nd round. You have visions upon this guy. Just plug and play. And we'll see you in 10 years, brother. Maybe you want to retire after 10 years. Well, you let us know, right? But so, all right. Boy, I tell you, like Richie James and Ellerson Smith, Lorenzo Carter, I've been putting a couple videos up on those guys. Obviously, Richie James, a former Giant, retires. Ellerson Smith was a former Giant. He retired. Lorenzo Carter, former Giant. He retires. But Justin Pugh retires a Giant. So they brought him. He came back for a day, right, straight off the couch, right. Came back, signed I guess a 1-day contract, whatever. But nice, he retired as a Giant. So that's good. Good for him. Good. I mean, he never turned a first-round pick. 2013, he was right before OBJ, right? He certainly could have been better, but hey, got him in 2013. He lasted a long time, so it wasn't the absolute worst first-round pick the Giants have made. That is for sure. Some of the worst ones that they made were 2 years after they picked him. They got Eric Flowers, right, pick number 9, and then the guy that they took number 10 overall the next season in 2016, we're actually going to be talking about in a little bit here. So, but I mean, Pugh, a solid offensive lineman. Solid. I mean, nothing, we're not talking Hall of Fame worthy or nothing like that or whatever, but it's just nice, real nice guy. And he came back and did his best to help the Giants out, right, in a bad season. It is what it is, but it's nice when guys go full circle. I mean, like, hey, if JPP, right, if he wants to retire as a Giant, come on in, bro. We'll sign a 1-day contract. OBJ, right? If he whenever he wants to retire, whenever that is. I mean, I've seen videos of him out there running around catching pass pattern, running pass patterns, catching balls and all that and everything. So looks like he's still trying to make a name for himself. So he's still trying to latch on to a team. Who knows where that's going to be? Doesn't look like it's going to be the Giants, but if he wants to retire a Giant, yeah, come on in, bro. We'll sign a 1-day contract for you. But Mr. Justin Pugh signs a 1-day contract. Good for him. Straight off the couch. With your shield or on it, Justin Pugh is straight off to retirement. Not the couch, straight off to retirement. Justin Pugh is straight off to retirement. The former offensive lineman who started 131 games across 11 seasons with two teams officially retired with the Giants. The 19th overall pick by the Giants in the 2013 NFL Draft, Pugh announced the news in a press conference following Friday's training camp practice. He was surrounded by his wife, Angela, 18-month-old daughter, Joey, mother, Carolyn, stepfather, Frank, brothers Sean, Jack, and Owen, and sister, Jenna. Also in attendance was former teammate Prince Amukamura, who stood in Pugh's shoes 2 years ago when he signed a 1-day contract to retire with the Giants. There's a Prince. He was what? I think he was the 2011 first-round pick. Because we got JPP in 2010. I think Prince was 2011. 2012 was Wilson. 13 was Pugh. 14 was OBJ. 15 was Flowers. Yeah, so like every little boy, I always dreamed of playing the NFL or some sport. Probably ice hockey, actually, growing up, Pugh said. I'd always mimic that game-winning shot or that game-winning catch. I definitely never planned on making a block so Eli Manning could throw the ball down the field or Kyler Murray could do something. I never dreamed of being an offensive lineman. I don't think any little boys are out there right now like being, let me pass set and block in the playoffs to make something happen. Yeah. But what I realized is that offensive line is the position that was for me. I was built perfectly for it and something you don't choose. Everybody wants to be that star position, but it's something that really defined me as a man, as a father, and as a teammate. So really, I just wanted to do a ton of thanks, do a ton of thank yous today. Pugh started 4 seasons with the Giants before spending 5 years in Arizona. He made his triumphant return to the Giants in 2023, famously starting a primetime game at Buffalo on October 15, just 12 days after he signed as a practice squad veteran. On the eve of the 1-year anniversary on which he tore his ACL, Pugh entered the NFL with his Sunday night football introduction, where most players recite their name and alma mater. Pugh just went on to say, Justin Pugh, straight off the couch. Pugh said, after 10 years, I thought it was over. I tore my ACL. The career was done. I had never been injured like that in my entire career. So I said, hey, it's time to hang him up. I can't imagine how many countless times my family came out to Arizona for the last game. I was always the last game, the last time I went out there, and this felt like it really was it. All of a sudden, the Giants are in town, and they're like, hey, we had our left guard get hurt. We're playing the Cardinals. Do you think there's an opportunity for you to come back? Oh. Now, I weighed 270 pounds at the time. I lied to Joe Shane and those guys, told them I was a little bit heavier. You guys all saw me. There was really no hiding how much I weighed at the time. But I knew at the end of the day, I knew something that always stuck with me. The Giants gave me my opportunity, and it was something special about putting that New York logo on one more time. Against the Bills in his first game back, Pugh started at left guard. The already thin offensive lineman took another hit midway through the first quarter of the game, and it had to be reconfigured yet again, and Pugh moved to left tackle. Pugh played all 77 snaps that night. I could have ended my career after that night, Pugh said. That's probably why Joe Shane had to negotiate with me a little bit, because I was ready to walk away. It was my with your shield or on it moment. I went out there on Sunday Night Football. I hadn't played in a year and got after it, and we still should have won the game, which they should have. I'm telling the refs right now, but I really I gave everything that year. Pugh started 11 more games for the Giants that season. His final game turned out to be on January 7, 2024. The opponent that day was the Philadelphia Eagles. I remember when I got drafted, we just kept saying, and this is not just because I grew up an Eagle fan, the effing New York Giants. I just kept saying that in awe, Pugh recalled. Then I got here and I got a chance to see what it was like to play for the New York effing Giants, and it was a dream come true. I still got goosebumps talking about it. So it's good for him. You know, I mean, it's nice. It's nice. You know, to have him sign, the 1 year. One day contract to retire as a Giant. So once again, he was a good draft pick. Nothing super spectacular, but he was certainly a good draft pick. I said, I did a video on this guy here, not Joe Morris, but this guy the last time I went live, and the more you see him, the more he starts reminding me of Joe Morris. Now, hopefully, there's a lot of what happens with Scatterboo happens with Joe Morris to a certain extent. Joe Morris got used up. I mean, Parcells, he liked that running game. And Joe Morris basically just got pretty much run into the ground. But in 85, Morris had 21 rushing touchdowns, I believe it was. We were a running machine that year. Of course, we ran into the Bears in the 85 playoffs and lost 21-0. But Joe Morris, he's got that little, because actually Joe Morris was only like 5'7", 5'8", something like that. So he was short. I think I cheated. I looked. I think Cam's like 5'11", but they're both under 6 foot. Neither one's really tall. They're both very low to the ground, low center of gravity, very powerfully built. You look at Joe Morris. I mean, he's got some nice sized legs. He's strong. You get the ball. The one thing that helped him, Joe Morris, was he would get the ball, and he's so short. It's like some guys don't even see him, right? Until he's maybe bursting through a hole. He's got some quickness to him. Whereas with Joe Morris is like 5'7", 5'8". He was like 190 pounds. Cam's like darn near 220, 5'11", like 220. So Cam, he's got like at least 20 more pounds on him than Joe Morris did. So but Cam can catch the ball. I remember Joe Morris could catch the ball. He catch the ball out of the backfield. He caught, one of the things I do remember was Joe Morris caught one of the touchdowns the Giants scored. They were down in 86. They were down 17-0 in San Francisco, down 17-0 at halftime. They scored 3 touchdowns in the third quarter. One of them was a Phil Simms hit Joe Morris in the end zone. I don't remember. It was a 15-yard pass, 10-yard pass, somewhere around, but he caught it in the end zone. So Morris catch the ball, but he got ran a lot, and that was one of the problems that between like 85, 86, he ran the ball a lot, and he just started wearing down. So that's why he wasn't on the team in 1990, right, when the Giants won their next Super Bowl. I mean, he was just beat up. But I am seeing he quick. Cam is quick. Same thing with Joe Morris. Joe Morris, sees the hole, and you got to give him a hole. That was the one thing, which I kind of like, a little bit, different with Cam as far as with Joe. Joe run into you, but anyway, he's tough to tackle because he got that low center of gravity. He's strong. He's got big, strong legs. So it wasn't easy to tackle Joe Morris. But Cam is a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger. So he might even, what's that? Same thing, low center of gravity, tough to bring him down, right? Hopefully, where the comparison comes in is that, Morris was there for a Super Bowl championship. It'd be nice if, Cam is there for a Super Bowl championship as well, too. The thing is that, what you don't want is that, as I said, after like a few seasons of running the ball, I mean, Morris, let's see. Joe Morris, Parcells ran him. Joe Morris stats. I mean, he ran him down. All right, there we go. I think he was out of the Giants by after 88. Yeah, he 89. He didn't play. He had an injured foot, and he wasn't even played in 90. He tried to make a comeback with the Cleveland Browns in 1991. He played in all 16 games. He only had 4 starts, but he only averaged 3.1 yards a carry. The thing was, 85. Yeah. So what was it? 85. He had 294 carries, almost 300 carries. 86, he had 341 carries. 87, he had 193 carries, but that was the scab season as well, too. There was they had 3 scab games, and they missed 1 game 1 week. So, so there was at least 4. So he only played in the grand total of 87, 11 games, right? But in 88, right, he had 307 carries. So, I mean, he had like what? 9. He had like 1,100 carries in 4 seasons. So he just got beat up. Now the thing is that in 85 he averaged Joe Morris, right, 4.5 yards a carry in 85. 86, 4.4 yards a carry. 87 is 3.4. 88, 3.5 yards a carry. So, and then his final season when he come back with the Browns, he averaged 3.1 yards a carry. So he was just getting beat up. As I said, I mean, he had over 600 carries. He had over 630 carries in 2 seasons for Bill Parcells in 85 and 86. He had great seasons, but he just got beat up. It was a shame because he was real good running back for the Giants. But hopefully that doesn't happen with Cam, right? But he's gaining some popularity. Let me tell you, it's gonna be something. It's gonna be something interesting to watch. There's a lot of interesting stuff going to be going on, right? I said, week 1, Russell Wilson under center, Tyrone Tracy will be probably right behind him, right? Week 14, 15, 16, whatever, if both guys are healthy, right? Who's the starting running back? It's going to be interesting to see because, although Tyrone Tracy's a very good athlete, Cam, he can fire a team up. Giants are in the midst of training camp, and all our eyes are on the team. Of course, one major area of attention for the Giants is their quarterback room. But there's one Giant rookie who has been in the spotlight already in training camp, and it's a breath of fresh air for the team. Giants will need all the help they can get this season to recover from their 3-14 run from last season. The rookie getting attention is Scatterbo. Giants drafted Scatterbo with the 105th pick in the 2025 NFL draft, and at the time, it was considered a good move But Scadaboo is turning into a dream running back for the Giants, and that wasn't exactly expected. Just 3 days into camp, Scadaboo is looking so solid. He's even better than people expected him to be and could really give the veteran quarterbacks on the squad a run for the keep saying it in this article. It says Scadaboo is looking solid, and he could really give the veteran quarterbacks in the squad a run for their money. I'm not sure why he's talking Scadaboo and the quarterbacks, but in this article, Scat was able to show off his shiftiness and burst at practice Friday morning. Matt Sidney of G-Men HQ notes in a story published on Saturday, July 26th. On a handoff from Jackson Dart, he immediately got the legs churning as he made his cut to the outside. He then showed off a bit of a surprising burst to outrun the defenders to the sideline. Sidney adds that everything he's shown, said, and done so far screams immediate impact player, but it's really his ability to catch passes out of the backfield and be a true 3-down player that made him such a draft day steal. So it appears that Scadaboo is worth the signing and draft day steal, as Sidney says. At 23 years old, he's a bit older than many of the other rookies, but what's a few years? Props for Brian Daboll and company for snagging this player when other NFL teams overlooked him. So he's and the one thing is that, on that one play that we're talking about there, okay, he gets the ball. I said, I don't know where we're supposed to go. I don't know. But he got the ball, took a step or so toward the line of scrimmage, and immediately took off to the left, got around the outside, and ran to, I believe from the angle that I saw, it looked like he ran out of bounds. The defense was coming over, but he down near got about 10 yards down the field, before, the defense, whatever, he ran out. There's no contact. But if you in a game, let me tell you freaking what. Tracy could maybe lower the shoulder or something like that, but it's going to be interesting to see when you get a freaking team fired up. You freaking lower your shoulder. The NFL and the NCAA are, a little different animal, right? Especially when he came from, I think it was Sacramento State and Arizona State. Okay. But, Sacramento State. So I've seen some highlights of him lowering his shoulder and running some guys over when he was at Sacramento State and all that stuff. But, that's what he's going to do. That's what, right? Now, he's going to win some. He might lose some because he's got the low center of gravity. He's almost 220, right? So he's a solid piece of meat out there, okay? But he's going to lower his shoulder. He might lose every now and then. He might lose a little something. But to be able to lower your shoulder, knock another guy down on the ground, and not even that. I've seen him with his hand. Just take guys, fuck out of my way, mother. Fuck, you know what I mean? So, talk about fire a team up. Saquon, right? Jumping over people, that'll get you pumped up, right? But not that, Cam ain't going to be able to do that, but, taking contact from another team's safety or something, whatever, they're coming up the field and he just lowers his shoulder, maybe knocks them down and keeps on going, or they try to tackle him. He ain't going easy, right? He's got either the stiff arm, or he's going to maybe take your helmet away and try to push you away or whatever. So it's going to get us fired up, right? As I said, he's not going to win everything. He's not going to win every battle, but he's going to try. So that's going to be one of those really, really interesting things to see. I said, certainly without question, week 1, right, will be Russell Wilson will be the starting quarterback, and Tyrone Tracy will be the starting running back. But as the season goes along, right, if they both stay healthy, because obviously if one gets injured, the other one's going to take the place and all that. But if they're both healthy, it'd be interesting to see once week 10, 11, whatever goes on, right, who's the starting running back in the backfield? Because they both, right, they both can, They both got some quickness to them. Neither one can take it. I mean, that's one of the drawbacks. I mean, if Cam could, you give the dude a hole if he's gone, I mean, he's not going to the fourth round. Ain't no way. Right? That was one of his, if you want to call it a drawback. He'll get caught from behind. Okay. He's not the fastest guy at the rodeo and all that stuff and everything, but both, can hit a hole, right? Gain you some yardage, and they're both very, very good receiving. So it's going to be interesting to see. But we do have two very good running backs. Two very, very good running backs. So, but it's going to be one of those things. It seems like Cam he's getting his own his fan base. Because also you'll notice if you see those videos when at the start of every training camp, he comes walking outside and he goes, "Woo!" He just screams it. Everybody hear him coming. Now, right? With, unfortunately, Bryce Ford-Wheaton. Now, as I said, you got to kind of look the combo package here, right? You got, because with Bryce Ford-Wheaton going down, right, that kind of maybe opens the door to maybe another or an additional wide receiver maybe making the roster. If not, maybe the roster, maybe opening up another spot on the practice squad, because you knew basically, well, you didn't know, but pretty much there's a good chance Bryce Ford-Wheaton was either going to make the 53 or quite possibly the practice squad. Okay, but now that he's gone for the season, kind of opens the door up. Now, Bo Collins is having a very good camp. Now, also, Cambry has been having haven't heard his name a whole heck of a lot. Training camp, it's only been 4 days, right? But in mini camp and OTAs and all that, I heard his name. But the one thing they have not done so far is, there's no, there haven't been no special teams, no kicking, no kickoff, no punt, nothing, none of that. So that's gonna start happening. Okay, now I think it's gonna be very, very important, quite possibly, for whoever winds up making, if we have obviously Malik Neighbors, Wando Robinson, Darius Slade, Jalen Hyatt, Amir Smith-Marset, they keep a sixth guy. Probably going to be very important for him also to be a special teams contributor, right? And the thing is with Cambry, was more known in college for his special teams. He was a wide receiver, but he hardly caught the ball at all in college. But it's his special teams play, which if he makes the team, which will be very, very, or makes the team either or the practice squad, will really help elevate him. Bo Collins, not so sure about that, but Bo performed very well at two different colleges. Now, all right, here we go. I got 37,000 tabs open up here. Let's see if I can find it here. There we go. So he was trying to capture a different screen. Oh, don't know. All right. Well, I do apologize. Oh, wait. That's why. All right. Well, anyway. Oh, let me try it now. Let me try it again here. I'll see if I can share the screen here this time. Share the screen. See if it works this time. Share. Yay! Yay! It worked. And he did it at two colleges, right? He did it at Clemson and at Notre Dame. Now, you'll notice here, I mean, obviously, we're not talking super duper unbelievable numbers here, right? But his rookie season, he had 31 catches at Clemson. Rookie season, I guess freshman. Sophomore, 22 catches, 38. And last season with Notre Dame, my team, right? 41 catches, 490. Now, obviously, if this was 80 catches, 1,100 yards, 9 touchdowns, the guy's, he's whatever, second round pick or whatever. You know what I mean? But, the Giants picked them up basically because, not super duper stellar numbers, but 13.5 yards of reception. Okay. But some consistent play. Usually, I mean, with Notre Dame, if you're not a super duper rock star, for him to get 41 catches, that's not too bad. Not too bad at all. But, so far he's been having himself a good training camp so far. So once again, it's only been 4, but it's going to certainly be something to keep an eye on, right? If they do keep the 6th guy, I think it might be very important for that 6th guy to be able to contribute on special teams. So these next few weeks coming up, when they do start, with the kickoffs and the punting and all of that, it's going to be very, very interesting to see who the cream rises to the top, and also these preseason games too. That's where you're going to get an opportunity, right? You got to make the most of your opportunities. But all right. Giants undrafted rookie wideout could be pushing for a roster spot at training camp. Now, as I said, now this article obviously I think was written before, unfortunately Bryce Ford-Wheaton got injured. So the Giants acquired a handful of 5 undrafted rookie free agent wide receivers this offseason to add depth to their receiving group. Among them is former Notre Dame and Clemson wide receiver Bo Collins, who has been turning heads since the spring practices. Collins was a standout performer during OTAs and minicamp in the spring, earning first-team reps for a portion of the team drills. He caught a touchdown pass from Russell Wilson during minicamp while filling in for the injured Jalen Hyatt. With training camp now in full swing, Collins is back to making plays for the Giants offense. According to the team's practice report, Collins made a nice gain during Friday's practice on a crossing route delivered by Tommy Chicken Cutlet Parmesan. The Giants have a few undrafted rookies gunning for the roster spot. Yes, they do. Collins could be a valuable addition to the Giants' wide receiving depth because of his unique size. He stands 6'3". Now, he's not super duper, only 195 pounds, but 6'3", giving him an edge over some of the other playmakers in Big Blue's receiving group. Alongside Collins are a pair of other intriguing undrafted rookies in Jordan Bly and Dalen Cambry. All 3 of the rookies have made plays to catch the attention of the coaching staff during the early practices of the season, while also providing valuable special teams versatility. Earning a roster spot this summer will be a challenge for all 3 of these rookies, with a bevy of capable pass catchers in the front of them on the depth chart. But nevertheless, Collins will be an intriguing player to keep an eye on during the preseason. Now, obviously, if we have to now take Bryce Ford-Wheaton, unfortunately, out of the right, there's Malik Neighbors, Darius Slayton, Wando Robinson, Bryce Ford-Wheaton, no longer with the team, is out for the season. Jalen Hyatt, Amir Smith-Marset. Then you got Zach Pascal, Montrell Washington, Little, Jordan Humphrey, Jordan Bly, Juice Wells Jr., the teammate of Jackson Dart, Daquan Felton, Bo Collins, and Dalen Cambry. So you got Daquan Felton, the Juice Wells Jr., Jordan Bly, Bo Collins, and Dalen Cambry. Those are the 5 undrafted free agents, rookie free agents that the Giants have. So we got, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, actually, what do we got? So we got 13 wide receivers. So, we got 13. You keep 6. I don't know who's going to go on a practice squad. At least 1, maybe 2 wide receivers on the practice squad, right? So you figure maybe 8 altogether. So we got 13. It was 14. Now we got 13. So that means at least 5 guys are going to go, bye-bye. But the thing is that, it's always fluid. It's, guys are coming, somebody gets injured, if Bo Collins doesn't make the team, right? Somebody gets injured, maybe they pick the phone up and ask to see if you come on back, right? So you don't know. As I said, with injuries, things happen. Bryce Ford-Wheaton goes down, right? Opens up, what do you do, when you have an opportunity? When an opportunity knocks you, you got to make the most of it. And unfortunately, Bryce Ford-Wheaton going down, said it's an absolute shame. But, one of these guys, see if one of these guys can step up, right, and make the most of their opportunities. So it's going to be one of those. there are some things that are set in stone, like Dexter Lawrence and Malik Neighbors and all that stuff and everything. But there are Paulson and Debo, and you got Newman and Holland, or and Karake. The guys are, some things are set in stone, but some of those back at the end roster competitions going on would be very, very interesting. So now, of course, I was talking about this moron. I held short on just talking about this moron because we were talking about Justin Pugh in 2013, OBJ in 2014, Eric Flowers in 2015. Then I was going to bring up 2016 and talk about this moron, but I didn't. Now, the reason why he's a moron is, if you don't have something really nice to say, just keep your mouth shut. You know what I mean? And one thing I never really liked, that this moron found another team. So he's still hanging around. Now, you don't know if he's going to make the 49ers. I'll read this article here. But he was talking bad about the Giants and the Giants fan base. And he was also talking after he gone from the Giants, he went to the Saints. And he was talking bad about them. He said something about, I don't know what stinks more, New Orleans or the New Orleans fan base or something like that. Talking like he's like a 2-year-old kid. So then what wound up happening after that was, of course, then he winds up giving up the game-winning touchdown in the Super Bowl. And, of course, it's on the cover of Sports Illustrated. So the idiot got what was coming to him. So good for him. But I never – yeah. But it just goes to show you why it's so important to hit on these draft picks. I mean, we keep drafting cornerbacks, and if Eli Apple actually hit, this guy's still around, right? He can still be on this team. But we're drafting DeAndre Baker, and we're drafting Banks, and none of these, right? And it's first-round picks, and. So, although to be fair to Banks, obviously just so far, for what they say on at least Big Blue Kickoff Live, anyway, he's doing pretty good. I mean, he's given up some receptions, but when he's given up receptions, apparently from what they're saying, Banks has been right there. He's been rather sticky so far. So maybe a fire has been lit under his rear end. Maybe he's seen the light. Maybe the new coach that they have is really helping inspire him. Maybe Debo coming in has helped them out. Maybe we'll have to wait and see. But Banks is so far has looked pretty good. Is what they say in training camp. But yeah, that's why it's so important to hit on these draft picks. But good old Eli Apple. Oh, my goodness. Giants fans won't believe which former first-rounder just got another shot. The Eli Apple doesn't fall far from the tree of other former Giants. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to wind up making the team, but in a move no one saw coming, literally no one, the San Francisco 49ers have signed Eli Apple to a 1-year deal. Yes, Eli Apple, the 2016 top 10 pick by the New York Giants, whose short, rocky tenure with Big Blue still lingers in the memories of fans for all the wrong reasons. Yep. Apple now joins a Niners defense that's been ravaged by departures and is already dealing with injury concerns, most notably to second-year corner Renardo Green. And just like that, one of the league's most polarizing journeymen lands with a hopeful Super Bowl contender. How's that for a late July plot twist? Apple's career takes wild turn with shocking 49ers deal. Apple's career arc has been anything but boring. Drafted 10th overall out of Ohio State, he lasted less than 3 seasons with the Giants before being shipped off to New Orleans in a cloud of locker room drama. Since then, he's bounced around to the Carolina Panthers, Cincinnati Bengals, Miami Dolphins, LA Chargers, showing flashes of potential, but not exactly doing enough to stick around. And now with the 49ers. So he was with the he's with the Giants, right? They went to the Saints. He went to the Panthers, he went to the Bengals, he went to the Dolphins, went to the Chargers. Now he's with the 49ers. So 7 different teams he's been on since 2016. So I guess this is his 10th season. He's been on 7 different teams. And he was with the Giants for 2 or 3 seasons. So basically almost everywhere he goes, he's there for like a year. But his most recent stint with the Chargers was marred by injury, limiting him to 4 appearances in 2024. But now, despite all of that, he's suiting up for a team looking to get back into the Super Bowl conversation. It's hard not to do a double take. Apple becomes the second former Giants defensive back to join the 49ers this year, following Jason Pinnock's, right, free agent deal in March. The 49ers were in desperate need to fill the back end with Talanoa Hufanga and Javarius Ward both leaving in free agency. And as it turns out, you've played for the Giants in the past. That's all the previous experience you need. But while Pinnock's departure was more bittersweet, Apple's resurgence is straight up surreal. He arrives at the perfect time. If he's got anything left in the tank, training camp is now the time to show it. He'll be battling with Darrell Luter Jr., Trey Brown, and Trey Avery for backup duties. But holy moly, what a shocker this was. This is a player who clashed with teammates, got suspended for conduct detrimental to the team, and was publicly labeled a cancer by Landon Collins. And yet, 9 years later, he's still finding ways to keep his playing career alive. 49ers aren't what they once were, and neither is Eli Apple. But that doesn't mean this opportunity won't matter. A strong training camp could go a long way in helping him stick in 2025. And with a new defensive coordinator, Robert Saleh, back running the show, who knows if he can do anything to salvage a career once thought to be completely lost. Talk about not having this on your bingo card. Yeah, that's true. That is true. So, Eli Apple, boy, all this time, still around all this time. I mean, it's just one of those things. And I remember when Landon Collins was talking about that, about him being like some type of a cancer. It just, I mean, and that the thing about that was also that was one of those that was those back-to-back years, right? When the second round pick was better than the first round pick because, 2015, we got Landon Collins in the second round. Eric Flowers was in the first round. The second round pick was so much better than the first round pick. 2016, right? Sterling Shepard in the second round. Eli Apple in the first round. The second round pick was so much better than the first round pick. Right? But that's why it's so important to hit on those picks. Now, it seems like nowadays, the GMs and all that, it was Shane and all that, maybe do a better job as what the guys are like. Don't seem like we're bringing in or drafting any rotten apples, like where they're like a cancer to the locker room. These guys are high quality guys. A lot of them used to be captains on their team and stuff like that. So we're bringing in, it's not necessarily translating the wins, which is of course what you want, but they are bringing in we want to call high quality people, right? So Eli Apple was not one of them. And then finally, right? Dart, well, I had a good day. Had a good day, right? Right? But, unfortunately for the Giants, kind of like they did things a little bit different. I mean, it's like you got Tommy Chicken Cutlet Parmesan. Be a nice third string quarterback. Nice. Okay. I'm not saying that the guy ain't taking it, He's got this thing kind of going on, and everybody's freaking, and all that and everything. But a nice third string quarterback, right? Because, I mean, he won 3 of his first 4 starts, I think, for us a couple years ago. I mean, that's not too bad. That's not, for a crappy team, that's not too bad, right? But, I mean, you got Russell Wilson, and the thing was they signed Jameson Winston first. Then they got running Russell Wilson, and then they got Jackson Dart. I mean, it's like we got a lot of guys. We got a lot of and obviously the thing too is you want to get Dart in there too if the opportunity presents itself. That's going to be interesting to see. Like if whatever. I don't know. I hope this don't happen. Say we start 1-6. I hope not. I'll probably want to kill myself, but who's going to go in? We put Winston in there, or we're going to see Dart in there, right? So it's like almost like you go from Wilson and you almost bypass Winston to get to Dart, And then the thing is, you're not keeping 4 quarterbacks. Tommy Chicken Cutler Parmesan's probably going to go on the practice squad, and somebody might scoff him up because he showed that he on a crappy team with no weapons, really, kind of. Not a very good offensive line. Okay, he can win football games. So he may not last long if he gets put on the practice squad. And I'd be shocked if they keep 4 quarterbacks. I mean, totally shocked. That. So I said, so if one of them goes on the practice squad, there's a good chance another team might pick him up. But I mean, it's a shame the way they wound up doing it. They took Wilson. They got Wilson first, right? And we had Tommy Chicken Cutler Parmesan, and then we drafted Dart. That might be the ideal situation because Wilson's only here for 1 year. You kind of hope maybe by the second season Dart would be ready. If not, we put him in the first year, right? But it'd be interesting to see, as the season goes along, if there's some quarterback needy teams out there. Right? I mean, the Giants are whatever. Once again, 3-7. Do we need Winston? No, we're going to be putting Dart in there. Right? So what's Winston going to do? Right? So he's quite possibly a trade candidate. But Dart had himself a good day, but it's only one day. Right? Long way to go. But I mean, let's not forget, maybe he had a good day, but also like the first day of training camp, right? He jumped back. Now, you don't know if the receiver ran the wrong about whatever it was, but he threw a pick 6. So, but Dart also says, you're going to make mistakes, right? But do you learn from your mistakes, right? But Jackson Dart puts together his best training camp outing. Training camp just got underway this week. Jackson Dart is one member of the Giants many are heavily focused on. Though things didn't get off to the greatest start for him, the rookie seems to be making strides on the field. On draft night, the Giants traded back in the first round to get him. He won't be taking the reins right away as New York also brought in Russell Wilson and Jameson Winston. That said, the organization is still vested in how its potential quarterback of the future looks to kick off his pro career. Dart, who climbed ahead of Winston on the Giants' depth chart during minicamp, I'll have to wait and see about that, has been splitting time with the first and second teams in camp. Whether it was nerves or other factors, Dart's growing pains were on display. That said, he seems to be adjusting quickly. On Sunday, Dart put together what has to be by far his best showing in camp thus far. He nearly had a perfect day throwing the ball, completing 11 of 13 pass attempts. Not too shabby. Along with being efficient and accurate, Dart also showed off how effective he can be as a deep ball threat. After impressing many people in and around the Giants during minicamp, many wondered if quarterback competition could emerge during camp. However, that is not the case. While he wants all the QBs working hard, head coach Brian Daboll stated earlier this week that Wilson is opening the season as a starter. Given the front office's move in the offseason, it's clear that they have a plan for Dart. Though many teams have strayed away from this old school thought, New York is maintaining an old school approach. Dart will begin his NFL career learning the game from behind the scenes before the coaching staff hands him the keys. As two quarterbacks who have had their fair share of highs and lows, Wilson and Winston can serve as good mentors for Dart. Absolutely. With a strong day of camp under his belt, the key for Dart will be building off this momentum, finishing things around strong will get him one step closer to eventually finding himself as the Giants' starting quarterback. But, you know, if we got Wilson's the number one guy, right? As I said, it'd be a shame to let Tommy Chicken Cutlet go. He'd be a good third string quarterback for us. Then we got Dart. So, New York Giants quarterback listed as potential top NFL trade candidate. Now, there's going to, somewhere along the line, there's going to be teams out there, quarterback needy teams. And the number, was it 2015, 26, whatever draft he was, the number one pick. Now, he can throw you in a game, he can throw you out of a game, right? Sometimes he trusts his arm a little too much, but I know 1 year, I can't remember what it was. I think he had 33 touchdowns 1 year, but 30 interceptions, but he also threw for over 5,000 yards too. You don't throw for over 5,000 yards by accident. You don't throw for 33 touchdowns by accident. Okay? So there's some talent there. Somewhere along the line, there's going to be a quarterback needy team going to come knocking. And the Giants are like 3-7. It's like, do you really need Russell Wilson and Jameson Winston on you when you got Jackson Dart in the back? So with NFL training camps underway, key storylines across the league have recently contributed to a list of 15 NFL trade candidates this summer. Pro Football Focus recently added New York Giants quarterback Jameson Winston to the conversation. Giants are likely to start Russell Wilson, leaving Winston as the 10th. Now they got it here. They say Dart possibly might be the second stringer, which will leave Winston as the team's presumptive quarterback number 3. New York could keep the former first overall pick in that role, but Winston figures to be most teams' top trade target when a quarterback injury inevitably happens, and it's going to happen. New York's front office added Winston this offseason after wrapping up the Daniel Jones era halfway through the 2024 NFL season. Rumors suggested that Winston had support as the potential starter for the 2025 NFL season. Giants flipped their script when they signed Russell Wilson to a short-term deal as well. Both veterans have plenty of experience as starters in the league. Wilson spent a large chunk of his career with the Seahawks, while Winston was the top pick for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers after starring at Florida State. At this point, Winston and Wilson are running out of chances to gain a long-term starting job in the league. Fortunately for the Giants, Winston has seemingly embraced a backup role in New York this year. However, he proved last year that he could still be productive when called on, starting in 7 games for the Browns. Not every starting seat in the league is guaranteed for the entire year, which is true. With unproven passers and injuries potentially causing shakeups, Winston can certainly be a top target in mind for teams who would be on the hunt for a player with a lot of experience. He's got, there's not much he can't do. Unfortunately, that also includes throwing interceptions. But you need somebody who can, move the chains, move the ball, complete some passes to his team and the other team, score some touchdown. Yeah. Being in the NFL since 2015, Winston has appeared in over 100 games. He has 87 starts under his belt and has thrown for over 24,000 yards and 154 touchdowns. Giants are committed to Wilson as a starter at the beginning of the camp. Right now, Jackson Dart is competing with Winston for the backup role, but it seems the veteran has the edge as of now. If Wilson were to struggle or go down while the Giants are still playing well, Winston would be the logical backup. New York struggles as a team, and it's clear the season could be lost. Dart would likely leapfrog Winston on the depth chart, as getting the rookie first-rounder early experience could be a great opportunity for the Giants' future franchise quarterback. Yeah, so that's going to be one of those interesting things certainly to keep an eye on. Who quarterback number 2 is. Is Winston number 2? Is Dart number 2? Winston number 3? The Giants got a tough schedule, right? As I said, after 10 games, are we 3-7? Even if we're 4-6, Hey, you got 7 games left. I mean, if you win the final 7, you wind up being 11-6. Now you're in the playoffs. But again, realistically, are we going to win the last 7 games? Or are we going to go 3-4 or what? That's going to be one of those really interesting things that I keep saying. Because in 2004, when we had Kurt Warner, we were 5-4. 5-4, and we were in playoff position. That didn't mean we were going to make the playoffs or not, but we were 5-4, and they pulled the plug on the season. But they didn't know at the time, but a future Hall of Fame quarterback, Kurt Warner, on the sideline, put Eli Manning in there, and just this season was over with, guys. The season we're putting a rookie in there. So Eli went on to lose the first 6 games. So we went from 5-4 to 5-10 before he won his final game of the season. So it's going to be something very, very interesting to keep an eye on. If the things get really bad, or if 4-6, 4-7, 3-7, 3-6, or something like that. Is there a point in time when the Giants are like, it's time to get Dart in there, because this season's over with. But if you can get Dart in there for 4, 5, 6 games, those reps that he's going to get are being valuable. So, all right, guys, 1 hour and 56, almost 57 minutes. Shoot my mouth off for almost 2 hours. Whoever spent any time listening to me live, thank you, thank you, thank you. If anybody's going to spend any time watching the replay of this, once again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It means the world to me. As always, you guys stay safe out there. Go Giants! Woo! Oh, yeah.